So another cherry blossom season come to pass. Life, death, rebirth, same thing. It's not about tops and it's not about bottoms. We need to understand that. I said this a few classes ago, and it's about timing. And you can simply just see everything we've been hitting on this year specifically. Resurrection Sunday, just like last year. Coming through that time period of the spring equinox, leading us into this 14-day time period of cherry blossom season. Again, something near and dear to my heart. Many things go into this thesis throughout the year, and a lot of it I never saw out there. You all know that. I take pride in being what I believe out of 9-10 billion people or whatever, to be the first to tie it to financial astrology, the markets, liquidity flow, etc. And so today was a very special day. Just I spent most of the day in silence, just watching the world, working, out in the yard, in nature after I got home, working in the yard, etc. And, just enjoying what today was for me. A farewell until next year. And so when we look at charts like this that I had been, sharing with you all, that some in the beginning in February you didn't understand, it was a bunch of chaos, it was a bunch of fear, and the fear and greed index and crypto Twitter was a storm, and I'm out here posting a butterfly on World Monarch Day. And I know that a lot of people couldn't maybe comprehend the foresight, the metamorphosis that I was speaking about roughly 64 days ago. And I hope now, regardless of what happens moving forward, you can at least take this last 2 weeks and see the rhythm and the rhyme and the just flow of what it is I put together. Again, with that 3 6s, 666 code, as I turned 36 in just a few weeks. And with all our decodes this year, since Super Bowl 60, right around this time period of hitting 60K in the 6th week of the year. And then we traded sideways for 60 days until we blossomed. Maybe you can see that 3 6s mark of the beast code that we were grinding out as a low at the beginning of cherry blossom season, where we blossomed from after last hitting those lows on Good Friday this year, the death of Jesus Christ, and resurrecting through Satoshi's birthday and resurrection Easter Sunday, into these now $73,000 highs that we have hit as we exit cherry blossom season. And we're hanging out right there above that $71,000 range. And we know that is very key, very important to our thesis, because Well, we get that 71 in cherry blossom season. So holding that range as we exit cherry blossom season is numerically and technically just beautiful. What more can we say? Grandiose and astonishingly captivating, possibly, but it's once again code given in advance, structure, technical analysis, astrology, all presented right here as we witness Mars entering Aries with Saturn and Neptune that we've been talking about conjuncting in Aries, the start of the zodiac wheel since February 20th, shortly after the Super Bowl. And it's pretty unique. So some more astrology we'll talk about later, but it's that time period where we watch spring, where we watch life, where we watch the charts and everything come back to life again. And it's just something that was developed in that mindset of years ago that, again, I spent a lot of time in today, but sometimes silence is louder than noise, and sometimes pain leaves you with no choice. Sometimes love leaves you scarred and left alone in the dark. And sometimes everything's the same, and sometimes you're playing a losing game. Sometimes people love you, but then leave you when you need them most. Sometimes you speak to memories like they're ghosts. And sometimes you try to move on, but you just feel stuck. Every time you rise, you run out of luck, or it's just not enough. Climb, coach, climb, right? And sometimes it feels like you're fighting battles people don't ever see, and sometimes you carry the weight of the world, and that's eternity. And that's what that's the mindset where this was developed, years ago, and it ended with that life, death, rebirth, eternity. And I hope that it lasts into eternity with you all moving forward. Last year's Resurrection Sunday historical April analysis as part of our cherry blossom season, and then to do it again back to back championships, and I can't wait till next year. When the sakura trees bloom again and we witness your story and your history made, because I can't, that's something that they say Kurt Cobain said, it's better to burn out than to fade away, but my memories of you guys and what we've done here, they'll burn into that eternity we were just speaking about. And so I don't think they'll ever, fade away. And I can't wait. Like I said, I know what I've done, and I think I can continue to do this for the remainder of my days. God willing, right? Some would say. But I'm ready to see the Roy Moores and the Patoys and the Modern Swords and the HHT and the electric guys and the dude where's my cryptos and war machines and cam demands and Esme's and Oz's and Philly D15's story, all those that have consistently been here recently. And sorry if I'm forgetting a few like Edel and others, but I'm ready to hear your success stories. I'm ready to start seeing those dissertations and theses form and be built after this journey in this year, right? Who are we passing the torch on to one day? And that's what I always want to continue to push in my work is, leave the breadcrumbs, Hansel and Gretel style, for others to pick up on and, so mote it be, do thy own will with. And hopefully it's something my son can continue, and something that I left for him. But yeah, man, I'm stoked, dude. I am. I think we can potentially push to hit 76K. That was, we had saw that come in on the 76th day of the year this year, St. Patty's Day, March 16th and March 17th. So, heading into the 77th day of the year, 76th day of the year, we hit that 76K, and here we are roughly heading into the 26th day after that, and I think we can potentially hit 76K again, tomorrow being the 101st day of the year, being the 26th prime. We'll see if we can't retest that 76K heading into tomorrow, Saturday, April the 11th. That's kind of what I'm looking at right here. Push up there, see if we can't get a break of market structure and show signs of continuation, because I would hate to get a lower high here and then lose 71.1, lose the 223.322 EMA, because you're getting a bullish cross with the yellow cross and the blue, with the 223 being above the blue 322. That's what we have been waiting to see for 64 days. Sunday will be 66 days since we hit our 60K lows. That would be the day to see if we lose 66,600 again, or if we show it as support on Good Friday, the death of Christ, and then the resurrection of it up out of cherry blossom season if we don't blossom 66 days after hitting our 60K lows and holding 66,600. That's going to be very unique and very remarkable to see and witness together what happens Sunday at the weekly close, because if we were to look at the chart, well, could we see a weekly retest of 79K in the 21 EMA exponential moving average after holding the 223 EMA on the weekly, well, for the last 66 days come Sunday? Very remarkable. Do we get a weekly close, highest candle close in the last 66 days above 73K come Sunday? That's what we're going to be watching for, and it's going to be very telling of what we could potentially see as we get ready to head into, well, the anniversary of the Civil War come Monday, right? No, tomorrow, yeah, come Sunday the 12th. And then what I call Assassination Day, or this year Fleet Week. We're paying attention to Fleet Week. I kind of mentioned something about that not too long ago with you guys here in the Discord, and I probably have a tab of it pulled up somewhere up here still. Right here, Fleet Week, April 15th, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Not Not his birthday, I'm just kidding, I was being facetious, but his assassination day. And we're paying attention to Fleet Week. And interesting enough, I recorded a few of those classes and videos, because if you were to see like the TV series NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Services, most recent 4/7 video, the same class that we were holding that night, they released this video, and I watched it afterwards, and I thought that was very unique. But it's all about Fleet Week and the death of a soldier named Sam, like Uncle Sam, right? Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. Well, this soldier has the tarot card, the death card, on him, and it's all about tarot and hypnosis and things like that. So it's very unique. If you want to go and check out the latest episode of NCIS Sydney, the Australia edition, good day, mate, from down under. And so it's a pretty unique episode talking about Fleet Week. It's all about I love Fleet Week. And so anyways, go check that out, because I'm working on a decode on that, depending on what we see come Fleet Week, April 15th. But yeah, very unique. Want to see where we close Sunday, being 66 days from our 60k low, and it being the anniversary of the Civil War as we get ready to head into Assassination Week. It's what I'm calling it. You know, y'all guys know I'm big on that stuff. So we're paying attention to scripted events over the next week. That would be, again, where I think we could lose this 66,600 and see lows if we were going to. Again, I don't know why we haven't already, if we haven't. Now that 1618, I could see it, or a push down towards it. We don't have to hit it all the way, you know, something like that. Swipe these lows again 66 days after. It's something I'm just watching. The astrology we'll be talking about probably later in this class, if I don't forget. It has got a lot to do with it. It's 66 degrees at my house, by the way, as we've been talking about this. But it has a lot to do with it, okay? So again, you just had Mars entering Aries with Saturn and Neptune. That's been in conjunction in Aries, the, you know, absolute beginning of the zodiac. And so God of War energy right here, just paying attention to that. Now I also think that could be bullish, while a lot of people perceive it as bearish, and then it, you know, again, it be that energy where they chase green candles that I've been talking about. But I'll behave. So just still on our way until, you know, maybe we come and close these two CME gaps right here between now and Sunday. Monday morning, we need to pay attention, you know, back to 66, 67k. We hold 66 possibly. Let's see what happens. Okay, we are in a rising wedge right here. You know, you see this triangle right here. We can see it capitulate, right? So that's why I'm saying this. You know, we've been on the way to close this CME gap above us at this 1618. Okay, at 83k. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. Some of y'all are probably tired of hearing about it, but it's technical, you know. And so until things change, then we're paying attention to these ranges, the ones we've talked about ad nauseum, and the continuation of the course we've been on, which is heading towards that 83 to potentially 86k. What happens if we're back at 103, 106? People are gonna go crazy. But anyway, I've been screaming it. Squeeze. But you know, we'll see. Again, I said below 69k it's accumulation, above 70k it's acceleration, and y'all heard me say that. Okay, that's 6 years of a previous high, retesting it for 60 days, right? 60k lows. Anyway, so we've been all over this code at nauseum as well, so I don't want to repeat it. You know, I'm sure some of y'all get tired of hearing the same thing. I sure do. But anyways, Adam and Eve, same thing. World Monarch Day, heading into Super Bowl, Valentine's Day. We broke all this down, entering into war. It was bullish until we hit Valentine's Day, right? Osiris ritual. We talked about that. But accumulation, Adam, Eve, and now we've just been still looking for that distribution. Breaking 76K triggers that. Okay? So again, accumulation, distribution here, you know, coming soon. So we're just keeping an eye on this as well. Heart monitor, right? So, all right, here's where the fun begins. You know, things like this. Again, this is breaking the golden pocket, 702. Long-term Fibonacci channel that we've been following since 2022 easily. You know what I'm saying? Just easily. Okay? Being nice by saying that. But again, this used to be resistance. When we were calling squeeze back on 11/7/2023 when Dumb Money was released, we were battling breaking 38K from that 36K range. Roy Moore was here. We were in longs together from that range. Or Modern Sword was here. And so, you know, 117 Bitcoin Master Chief Code, Dumb Money released, short squeeze GME movie, and we called the Bitcoin short squeeze from this range. Okay, and now we're potentially breaking it again. Okay, so just think about that. All right, we'll come back and see what that looks like in the future. But this has been a major and critical range going all the way back to 2018. Okay, so we've followed it, we've talked about it for quite some time, especially back in 2023, heading into 2024 ETF time period. So and recently, you know, we've been sharing it, we've been talking about it in classes. You guys should know. So getting above this could literally trigger everything, especially after coming down here touching the 786. Basically, I mean, you were probably like a percent away from it, like, you know, anyway, who's counting pennies. But that's the trader's range. We teach you that. Okay, and so this fib channel has potentially started the journey out of some lows. Okay, we'll see what happens, but we gotta continue to close above this. I'm saying 71,100, but we need to say 73K to be safe, to be honest, because the way that, you know, the fib channel works, it goes, you know, sideways and up. Crypto's Andy Warhol chart, you know, just beautiful. We added the second fib circle since some of you were last here probably, and we told you we would bring it to y'all's attention, and that's what we're paying attention to now, is seeing if we can't get back up to that 103K range, this 1618. Okay, not only a 1618 fib circle, but a 1618 fib channel as well. Okay, we're holding the 3.618 fib channel, and we could still fall. You know, we'll see what happens. I don't know, man. I haven't never really been big on that. You know, y'all know that. We've talked about it technical wise, things like that. You know, percentage wise, things like that to fit maybe a code, something like that. 43-day government shutdown. Maybe they hit us for 43K lows. You know, we've mentioned these things. You know, I don't know. Maybe they swiped the 60K lows. Like I said, we hit that 56K. That's what this chart shows. That 1618 was just at 52 to 56K, depending on where we pulled our fib from, right here. You know what I'm saying? So, it just depends on if we change this fib to the 76K. Like, it really does. So, I mean, we could possibly see those things, is what they're still showing us, these charts. But I ultimately think we're just working our way out of it. Y'all know that, ad nauseum. I've been sharing this. That potential Jesse Livermore pattern that I said would become famous, that this fifth wave would become famous, right? And so I've already started to see the fifth wave on people's Twitter charts. It's like, okay, this chart been here since like 2023, bro. This shit. I mean, so now we've added the Hitman 47 and things like that, the fibs, things like that since this year. We've started, 2025, we started bringing it back into rotation. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Right now it's breaking past 74K, getting past 79K, breaking that 83K CME gap and 86K. All these things that we've talked about in several classes over the last few months, ranges that we've repeated, so we'll continue to see what these charts of golden opportunities and bangers continue to show us, like this one. It's been a while since we brought it up, but that sell wall that we were worried about at that 128K, we were 1.36, 1.37% away from that when we hit 126K, remember? Mars entering Scorpio, all that stuff we talked about back in October, Skull and Bones Day, right? So now just accumulating at these ranges of the 702, just beautifully, 66,600 basically, right? And now if we can just continue the rally forward, we'll see what happens. This could be the shortest quote unquote bear market, like all them James Winners were calling, that you may ever experience. Oh, that's the same chart. We went over that. Uranus stationed in retrograde. Who remembers when we drew this one night in class? This we did it live with you all, speaking and teaching one night, and this was something that we had made history on this past year, was this thesis of the cherry on top of our cherry blossom season thesis. And how could we not bring that up at the end of cherry blossom season today? Well, it's the we are making coming out of Uranus stationed in retrograde. Again, the 2324 date that I gave you of Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. So I know I've been probably saying this a little confusingly. This April 25th, April 26th, my birthday time period of Uranus stationing in Taurus. That started on February 3rd when Uranus stationed direct in Taurus for the last time in the next 80 years, by the way. And so we're still currently stationed in Taurus right now, the bull, as we get ready to transition into the zodiac Taurus, while Uranus gets ready to transition back into Gemini on the 25th of April. Pivotal but final forward momentum, closing this 7-year cycle, right? Of radical transformation regarding finance and value and security that began in 2018, the last cycle high, prior to 2021, right? We were just talking about that on that fibs Legend of 117 chart that we were, just talking about, the 702 golden pocket going all the way back to 2018, right? And well, we're at that final turn, you guys, right here this month, as we get ready to watch this transition back into Gemini. And well, I'm ready to see what happens. Again, this is beautiful. This nice Adam and Eve, this U pattern, and then we get the handle. Nice double bottom, really. We'll see what happens, but I'm ready to see if we can't hit that 86, 88K. Get up there and see if we can't hold that range again. That was the last major resistance that we got coming out of Uranus stationed in retrograde and stationing direct in Taurus until, well, a few weeks from now on the 25th. So my son's sister's birthday, but yeah, very unique. My birthday the next day, and so I'm excited again. I just feel like as I turn 36 years old, man, all this 12 years of decade plus of hard work and long nights, early mornings, all-nighters and shit is, it's beautifully blossoming this year and coming together in one, just in one Monet or Degas, one Andy Warhol chart, right? One beautiful picture. That's what I'm saying. A picture speaks 1,000 words, or in this case, potentially, who knows how many thousand words. But I'm excited. Like I said, I can't get over it. I can't say that enough tonight. I guess now that I'm able to speak, like I said, I've been practicing silence all day. Just kind of only speaking when spoken to while at work and stuff, but I was ready to get here and be with you guys tonight. Check out the chat, see how you guys are doing. I ain't looked at that all night. I've just kind of been rambling, and just like I have been the last few videos. I hope everybody here that hasn't been here in a while has caught those last few episodes and stuff. And I've really just been sharing what's been on my heart. But the 60th Super Bowl code was immaculate, going back a few years to the 49ers and BTC hitting 49K. Yeah, you remember when I had that 49ers picture on my chart? It's still on there. I've never deleted it, but I just have to find that chart and go back a few years and look. But it's still on there. But yeah, I appreciate you, man. That 60 code, we're still hitting on it. Like, we're still adding to that 60 code. 66 days from the 60K lows is Sunday. Like, we're gonna be here Sunday between two jobs, sometimes Sunday midday, sharing updates with you guys. But yeah, man, don't sleep on that 60 code, man, or the 666 code, the 36 code. As I turn 36 this month, like, yeah, man, you right, Rumor, tell him. You've been here. And we gave it in advance. I'll behave. But I'm ready to see y'all's code play out, man. Yeah. Like I said the other night, we made history again this year. Resurrection Sunday. Cherry blossom season, as you can see. Whatever, dude. I'm just, man, I can do this, man. I believe I can continue to do this for the rest of my life. I've did it so many times that I've failed till I started winning the last 6 years, and y'all have seen it. And I'm ready to see what y'all do, and that, I mean that. So that's my motto moving forward, man. Ready to start talking about my pioneers like I do my son. You see what my son did? You see what my student did? I'll behave. But yeah, we'll see where the journey takes us moving forward. It could be, like I said, a rocky month. moving into Fleet Week and everything. Assassination Week, I'm calling it. But that... we wouldn't be surprised here. Every decode we've been doing for the last 2 months has practically shown. You know, they've been telling us a story. You know, so yeah, we won't keep dragging that out and sharing that. Like I said, we don't want to repeat ourselves. But gold, man. Holding 4,700 now, bouncing off that 223-322 EMA in that same fifth wave, potentially like Bitcoin, like we talked about it. You know, same thing with the Dow Jones. We've been discussing it in the last few classes. It's holding that 4,700 now. We talked about silver. You know, it practically was either going to do the same thing, and it's holding 75. Needs to start breaking 79. But yeah, not surprising. It's holding 75 right now, so it's right above $74, while gold's at 4,700 and the Dow Jones is at 47,000 points. Not surprising. Bitcoin's barely fighting resistance at 74k, right? You can't make this shit up, dude. It's all coded. I just said, are we about to see a 74k or a 74 code as we head into Independence Day? In one of my last videos, well, last day of cherry blossom season, we're basically getting that code in all the charts. So I find that unique. XRP just looking like it's round bottoming, like it's about to see 216 again, 187, something like that. 223, 322 EMA. That would be a good range to possibly de-risk if, you know, you've been buying these lows, or if you're in a long setup from these lows and we hit the 223, 322 EMA, the Brotherhood of Death, tied to Skull and Bones, 187 code. Yeah, de-risk at that 187. Not financial advice, because I mean, if we break that and, you know, we hold the 223, 322 EMAs, it's I mean, it's clear skies, man. It's gonna rip. But the way this just flipped, I would look for a rejection and, you know, a fight at first, and then maybe continuation after a fight, or we get up here and we come back and retest, something like that, you know. I wouldn't just expect a straight line breakout, but stranger things have fucking happened, especially after eating up most of this fucking wick, because again, we didn't know which wick to look at. Coinbase, Binance, Bitflix, you know, your wick, my wick, you know, I don't know. But so we'll see what happens. The 786 was really it for me, the trader's range, right, when we're talking about things like XRP. But yeah, 702 golden pocket, depending on where you pulled your fib. That was a previous cycle, but yeah. I was really hoping to see us break that 74k for class tonight, but we're fighting it.
Oh, we're in shorts.
Shorts, bro. We can literally reach the 76k in a matter of, like, I'm talking about hours, man. Like between now and Sunday, I think we can. Yeah.
I get 80k. We could bump up to 80k. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, 79, 80, yeah.
Stalling out, and until everything gets out of cancer, you're talking Lionsgate portal at that point, you know, end of summer. But obviously we're going up before then. But I think we're just going to gravitate up and out of this 60, 69k range. You know, we might pop out of it for a week or two, but I don't know if it's going to be sustained for a quarter or two, just to pump right up into Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
I think we're going to be looking for that Christmas rally. You know, it's not going to be just 2024 handed to us on a silver platter from 36K to 50
Christmas
or 60.
rally? Yeah, well, since you're on, I mean, this weekend for me is going to be electric because of the astrology, and you've been doing your research, you've been studying your deacons and your astrology, and everything that most look into when studying with the charts as well. I see your work, and others really appreciate your commitment here, and so do I. Want to make sure I said that. But I think this weekend is going to be electric. You got the moon entering Aquarius tonight at 8 p.m. and we already know what that can bring. But also we talked about Uranus in Taurus for the last time in 80 years. That's ending soon. But Mars, the god of war, just entered Aries, which is also known as the god of war, just depending on the mythologies that you're looking at. So, we've got this kind of like double the god of war energy right now, which I think is actually canceling out a negative connotation and, bad anthropomorphized vibe to that astrological aspect right now, as it joins Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries right now. So again, the last time that Mars was conjunct with both Neptune and Saturn was March of 1990. So again, if we were to pull up the Dow Jones chart again real quick, let's just look and see what the Dow Jones was doing March 1990 real quick. We'll go to the weekly time period. We'll go to 1990 and we'll go to March, because again, that was the last time that I saw, astrology wise, that this was taking place. So January, February, March, April, you were looking at this, off of that same type of energy. Things like that. Cold War was ending. You've got this kind of ceasefire going on with America and Iran right now. Even though I don't think the war is over, because some of these exact conjuncts with this Mars and Neptune and Saturn shit is going to be happening on the 13th. So I'm watching that date, the day after Monday market open, right? The day after the Civil War anniversary, for some potential rituals to take place. But I figured with you being on, maybe we could speak about some of that, as
100%.
Again, we watch this conjunction in Aries, man. You guys got to understand how biblical, how cyclical this is, and again, to be on the last day of cherry blossom season and speaking about this and seeing this astrology in our sky this year, this is a life, death, rebirth, but coming out of the ending and entering the new beginning in this phase of astrology right here. So I keep hitting on it in many classes because it's key right here as we continue to move forward in our journey together.
Yeah, and if I were to, I have a few things to touch on. So,
because Mercury also moves into Aries the 15th, Abraham Lincoln's assassination day, and also the moon moves in there the 16th. So you've got Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, Mars, the moon, the sun joining, all joining Aries very soon, together.
Yes, and that'll be Sunday for ETH CME Open at 5 p.m. CMT or whatever fucking local time you are. But moral of the story is Aries with that V shape. The only thing that I could throw a monkey wrench into your X wave for the butterfly, or your whatever you want to call it from the macro outlook there, The only monkey wrench that I've been trying to put into frame is because in reality the crab harmonic has already played out. So
Yeah, I mean,
you
this
have
C
your
wave could have played out here at 76K already, especially if we don't break it again.
well the thing for me is that when we were at the middle of this double bottom, maybe a month ago or whenever that March through March, a month or two ago. That was the bottom, like you said earlier in class, and it was like, we grinded it out, and it was the thought process: are we bullish or are we bearish? And this is something that will take seasons to front run. Hindsight and foresight in 2020. You know what I mean? When you think about it after it happened, right? But as I look at structure forming, I see the crab harmonic to where we fell to the A to the B, and then that C wave is the 62K or is the 64K. So whether we go back down there or not, the only way that I see it happening is in an Aries format of a V-shaped pattern, which would be a 786 scam wick on a war-related event. And the only way you would find that is in a news-related event, or which I want to compact with the sign of Aries, which looks like a V-shaped recovery. So it would just be a win. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
So that's what I'll leave. That's what I'll leave, because that's the only thing I can see is a flaw in that plan that we have been looking at the last 2, 3, 4 months. You know what I mean? Of the butterfly pattern.
Yeah, that I do understand what you're saying, that it would invalidate all this. That's kind of like why
technically. But gematria wise, we're front running it. You know what I mean?
Right, and decode wise, we're front running the invalidation with what we've been seeing, and prepared for, and why I said so many times, like, look at what they have to do to invalidate that. Look, you know what I'm saying? Look at what they've been telling us. That will invalidate it. You see what I'm saying? So what if it is? Am I really wrong? Because again, we've got the crypto Andy Warhol chart showing we could potentially see a 56K Bitcoin, BTC equals 56 in gematria, like you said, the code. Like I get it, yeah. And
I want to
the
see
1618 is there too, so I mean it is an accumulation range. So it's not technically an invalidation. It's just my lows of 60K. We'll see if that holds.
All that has to hold, or else we're looking at a whole new ball of wax. Unless it V-shaped recoveries in an Aries format, because I remember. Do you remember?
And that's what I was saying a second ago with this Aries and God of War and Mars energy. Right here as we watch Uranus transition back into Gemini. This is the energy. This is it. It wasn't a blood moon fucking eclipse. Look at, cherry blossom season was more powerful than a fucking blood moon eclipse. Again, 3 years in a row we've slaughtered blood moons. But nobody was talking about the solstices and equinoxes when I first started this journey. That was one of the things I was proud of that I could bring to the charts that I didn't see nobody talking of. The 322223 EMA, cherry blossom season, Uranus station in retrograde. So many more things, and so it's really just been a beautiful thing. But that transition right there, through these next 2 weeks, Fleet Week, etc. Like I'm telling y'all, I can see the energy for an April terrorist event to take place, especially with this ceasefire going on, and then something happening, and somebody reneges on that.
They just bought themselves another 2 weeks. That's all they've been doing, is postponing this whole thing. So when it happens, we don't know, but something's going to happen, and it's not going to be this drone bullshit. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do. I do know what you mean. Yeah, because again, Mars hasn't conjunct Neptune and Saturn and Aries in over 700 years. And it's happening today through the 20th. All the way through Fleet Weeks and Assassination Week. So, I mean, again, Roy, I get what you're saying about, could we see that V-shaped recovery or that liquidation event right here? Abso-fucking-lutely. You know, this has been a 700 year in the making moment. You know, so
It's with the visual of Aries, but if you go into another sign that looks like a V shaped, it would be the seed of Capricorn. Okay. Now I'm going to get on a little bit of a digress here, but you wanted to ask about Uranus and Taurus, or Uranus and Gemini, or whichever one you want to pick right now. But if you think about the zodiac wheel and the opposite of Taurus, Taurus is in a trine with Capricorn, right?
yeah,
Because they're earth signs. So Capricorn, there's a lot of 90s babies and a lot of early 80s babies that were born when Uranus was in a local, ephemeris was in a local zodiac wheel and in Capricorn. I'm not saying, Uranus in Vedic or Uranus in whatever world was Capricorn, but when that baby was born in the early 80s and the 91 to 95, Uranus was exalted in Capricorn because Uranus is generous in Capricorn, right? So you got to think about the other people, the other companies, or the other entities that have those other traits or those other attributes in other earth signs that are in positive influence or positive aspect with Uranus and Taurus right now. Gemini is a problem child. Okay,
I
we
know
know that.
it. Trump's a Gemini. He's a problem child, dude. I know it.
Gemini, so I haven't seen it yet, but it's going to be full force. But with Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, the earth signs are confluent with the fire signs. They kind of have somewhat of a harmony, you know what I mean? But if you wanted to look for anything indifferent, you would say, okay, moon's in Aquarius. Fire and air will light fire fire needs air, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the Aries fire of war should continue to burn over the next 3 to 4 days with the Aquarius moon. But
Right.
when is Uranus going direct, and when is the Taurus energy of Uranus, and when are we going into a Capricorn moon? And like you said, many planets going into the fire sign. So let's see what comes of that. But that's what I would leave you with, you know what I mean, as far as Uranus and Capricorn and Uranus. And I related to the golf tournaments. There's a lot of golfers that are
The
80s and 90s.
The Masters just teed off, yeah. So
Yeah, and I'm waiting
also
to see who wins.
you hit on that Capricorn. What's Mars coming out of right now and entering into Aries from Capricorn?
I thought Mars was in Cancer, so I didn't want to segue into a debacle.
You know, there's 1,000 ways to view it, but the way I see it was coming at the way I'm viewing it, what I'm looking at it, tied to BTC, using sometimes the natal chart, etc. I'm seeing it coming out of Capricorn.
Yeah, in the ascending moon.
Maybe in my notes, I wrote that it was in Capricorn in March. It was coming out of Capricorn in March, February of 1990. I'll have to look back on that. You might be right. It might have been that 1990 time period I was talking about. It could have been transitioning from Capricorn then into Aries, because that was the last time I saw it join Saturn and Neptune. I'm looking at my notes now. I'll have to double check that.
If we were going to focus on one thing, I think the Dragon Code is what's speaking to me. And when we think about Dragon, we think 86, like you've taught. And the 86 code and the number 80, if Bitcoin can get to 86, we're talking numbers. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
In all reality, I'm talking about the Crab Harmonic. I'm talking about 60K, 62K. 64K, 66K. You said tonight in class 66K might be the lowest we get,
Yeah,
so
it's this CME gap right here at 67,200. If we go and close that, we could still be holding 66.6 maybe.
Now, the only thing that I have is that the low that we made didn't clean all the lows from before. It cleaned some ETH CME gaps and maybe like one RTH, but there's a bunch of gaps in that block from like 62K to like 58K.
Oh, so, yeah. That's yeah.
And what CME did and derivatives did I want that to get cleaned. I want all that to get cleaned to the downside. And then I want it to be on a wick so my crab harmonic is still in effect as long as it V-shape recovers. You know what I mean? But that is what I have been thinking in comparison to what your wave chart is. You know, because obviously I would be defiling your wave chart thinking in my logic, right? But that's the
Right.
only thing that I could try to say is that the Aries pattern and then the water signs. You're in a water and fire conflict right now.
Yeah. Fire and ice, man. Fire and ice.
The river's high up here on the Mississippi. I mean, it's almost flooding, but all we need is some hot weather.
Yeah, we've been getting some pretty good weather.
Hey,
You know,
Yo, what up?
talking like, I don't know, like 5-7 minutes ago about the false flag attack. What building and what man comes to mind?
Do what?
say it again.
That U.S. bank building purchased by Silverstein.
Oh yeah.
This guy? This building?
Yep.
Was it L.A. or San Fran?
It's in Los Angeles.
I thought it was San Fran when I read it. I was like, Abe's calling it.
No, it's in Los Angeles. But yeah, that he just put insurance on it, didn't he? Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's what comes to my mind when you ask a question like that.
I don't know. That would be like an inside job or some shit. But anyway, I could see it
Well, of
happening.
course. And it may be like a year from now, but I think 2027, you might see that baby
No.
pop.
It should be all overseas. I mean, this is just Gulf warfare. You know, this is just movies popping some shit up because Aries is Aries is a fire sign, but if you look at the deacons on the figure, unless you get a specific deck or like a random creator or manufacturer, like Aries is supposed to be generous. You know, a fire signs. That's why I always went along fire signs. I don't give a fuck what fire sign it is. I'm along a fire sign, but it just depends on what's to boot with it. You know, when you talk about the moons changing and everything else changing.
April 17th, your new moon too. Your new pink moon.
If you go back to the original scam wick that we had 3 or 4 months ago, I bet you that had so much to do with Aries that, you know. I know.
This is oil right here, in just case you didn't know.
No, but remember, if you look on all the altcoins, that big scam wick that happened, you know, when we had that big dump.
Oh, 10/10, October 10th.
It was like 2 or 3 months, or 4 or 5 months ago, I guess. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But that had so much to do with Aries. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So could we see it on a local micro level now? But the Capricorn and Seagoat, we was trying to go from the Scorpio to Capricorn last fall. When that dump happened, I think if you look back, I was talking about the Seagoat, with the goat and the horn. You don't always see that, depending on what zodiac symbolism you look at for Capricorn. But that V shape in the goat's horn.
It could be.
The dragon is April in Chinese zodiac. I'm sorry to, but I'm double back into the dragon code, and the month of April is the month of the dragon. So we're in a water dragon right now, which could lead to a liquidity grab, which would mean that either 86 or we go down first and then go to 86 by the month's end. That's what I think.
Oil on the 12-month chart looks like it's about to explode to probably $200-300 a barrel. $6-8 gas prices coming soon, possibly.
It's already $10 down at Big Bear in LA. A gallon.
Well,
It's four.
it'll be 20 for them because we're at $3 now. So when I'm saying 6 to 8, it's gonna double for us. It'll double for them. The rate of change has marked every historic crash there's ever been in the market when it hits 100 on the rate of change, and well, we're hovering 50, 60 right now, so I'm watching that 12 month. And that's a little secret for you guys, by the way.
Say it again.
The 12-month rate of change in oil has marked, every time it hits 100, it's marked every market crash, basically. But you gotta be on the 12-month, so 1987, things like that. So
The utility case never really took off for them, like the way silver and gold did.
say it again.
Well, you know how the metals took off, like gold and silver, 5x, 10x, however you want to look at it. But oil has relatively stayed the same as far as your call out for it to 4x from here. I mean, it never really moved the way metals did in the way that it should have.
Yeah. That gold. You talking about like this metals chart, this gold chart? It didn't move like this.
No, I mean, just from the last 2 years, oil doesn't look so expansive as gold does. Like, you were talking about the sea wave out of gold. You can't even find me a sea wave like that no more.
Nah.
So the utility case for oil, whether we can mine it until the end of time or not, you know what I mean? In theory, it's a finite resource. So when is it going to 5x the same way gold did? You know what I mean?
Well, I think we're closer than ever. It's getting very greedy. So, I mean, it's stuck at this 786 right now. We'll see if it breaks it. But, it could very easily be at $174 a barrel very, very soon. And that'd be a new all-time high. So, it could be happening sooner than you think, Roy. But it's never going to be as in high of demand as now. Don't get me wrong. Like, how I kind of honestly think this orange guy's very genius in what he's doing. Because what if this man pretends to lose the war against Iran, which is why in a population of 1 million plus, if not multiple million at war, he's only sending less than 3,000 to 10,000 troops, right? American soldiers to go over there and fight. But what if he's planning to lose this war for a reason? We're speaking about oil. He's threatening to invade with ground troops, which sounds like a unwinnable war in Iran to me. I'm not fucking dumb, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's picking fights with the rest of the world and pissing off, NATO, threatening to take Greenland. He's already, threatened to take Canada and Mexico as well. Bullying up on Denmark, Trump has. And he's confiscated Venezuela.
He's letting them take it out because let Iran run amok, and now everybody's coming back crying to Trump. But you got to give them time to feel that pressure. So, like you're saying, if he's working a backwards deal, then you got to let these other little countries feel the pain a little bit, and then say, "Oh, we need you. Oh, you need me now." Oh,
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, what if he wants to destroy the global economy? He'd be a genius. Okay, see, Japan gets 75% of their oil from the Middle East. Okay? India gets, I don't know how much. Europe, heavily dependent. China, I don't know how much they get. But here's the thing, Venezuela's, we just confiscated that. Remember when Edel was here and we talked about it all, you know what I'm saying? And that's the largest oil reserve in the world. Canada's got massive reserves, and again, Donald Trump threatening to take over Canada, threatening to take over Greenland, threatening to take over Mexico. America's got massive oil reserves. Okay? So, you see where this is going? If he closes the Strait of Hormuz, because it's closed right now, you know what I'm saying? And they're over there, Trump over here warning Iran that you better not be taking Bitcoin payments for them ships to come through, because they over there making like 1.3 million a day in Bitcoin payments for ships to come through the Strait of Hormuz for them to sell that oil to these countries. So if the oil stops there, then North America is going to start pumping in 2026 in a midterm year, an election year, like I told y'all about last year. Part of my decode was heading into this year. Watch the oil, and look at what we're in now. And so, again, if that strait closes, well, it's not just oil now; it's nitrogen too, because that's for food production. That's got to come from America as well, not just through the Middle East, where oil has been coming from since 1971. So he's making the entire world potentially dependent on the resources that we control and he controls here in America. But he'll cripple the entire global economy and put us in a gas shortage and fuel shortage, etc., possibly, to get us there.
No, but that's the port for the pharmaceuticals too from China. Because if they don't come from China to Cali, then they come from China to get processed in the UK or Europe, and then they come across the Atlantic. You see what I mean? So that's the port for not only pharmaceuticals, but Amazon and every goddamn else cocksucker. So I bet you there's cargo ships just held up right now with the Amazon product, and God knows what, that America's like, we got a problem. You know what I mean? Or Europe's like, we got a problem. So something's going to give, and Iran and Saudi Arabia, let's not forget that you think that Iran is a solo actor here. They're not. Okay? Because
I don't. I just think this is all one massive chessboard.
But the Middle East, the Muslims are a confluent group. You know what I mean? They stick together. So I'm saying they got gypsies to the east of them, and then the Pakistan mountains. Everybody from the Himalayas to the goddamn Mediterranean is all probably on the same checkerboard of fucking everybody else. You know what I mean? Because that's all they got. You know what I mean? Is those deserts and the gold and the mountains and the money and the oil.
Yeah.
But we could wipe them all. It's not a question. It's whether they want to play ball or not. So they're feeling out the weaker countries, and they're feeling out the Saudi prince and saying what he thinks. So it's a flex move, but Trump has to navigate it right.
Yeah. Oh, I think he will.
I do so.
Unless they take him out, like the decodes have showed, but
they can't. His energy with the
I don't know, man.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know anymore.
I can't. It's not impossible. I just wish they would go after somebody else, and we would get through all this stuff. But they're still moving out the rats in the world, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were acting. As soon as he got into office, it was going to happen. But we're 2 years in, and we'll see what comes of it. But
Hell yeah. Man, I'm excited to see where this weekend takes us, man. It's the 12th and the 13th that I'm worried about the most for some reason, man. This Sunday and Monday. That CME open on Sunday night. You know, that's where I see the volatility coming, the anniversary of the Civil War and things like that. Entering into Fleet Week, you know. That's just what I'm watching, man. Yeah. 103rd day of the year type shit. You know, things like that. 102nd, 103rd day. That's what it'd be. It'd be that Mercury energy, though. You know. Trickster God. 103rd day of the year type shit. But, I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably about to land the spaceship, though. Get ready to make my son something to eat. He came out here a few minutes ago. Was asking how long, so I get done. That's what he was wanting to know. So I can make him something to eat after. But yeah, gotta take care of the boy, man. Gotta take care of the boy. So yeah, but man, I appreciate y'all. Y'all know what it is. For coming out tonight, you could have been somewhere else. Friday night, ending your week somewhere at a bar or watching a sports event or, man, I don't know, Netflix and chilling, dude. But you chose to be here, changing your life, preparing for the future financially, physically, emotionally, mentally. But ultimately, man, I hope you got to see something special, man. I hope you got to see the last few weeks when the start of cherry blossom season started at 66,600 and now we're at 73K. You know, hopefully you got to see the blossom. You know, you got to see it in real time, and you got to live this code. Oz, he got to come live a few days with Coach Abe not too long ago. Y'all know that. We walked in Mother Nature at the Huntsville Botanical Gardens on the very first day of spring and the new moon together over that span of 3 days, and we stood under some sakura and cherry blossom trees that were just trying to start to bloom, and it was amazing. And you know, hopefully, you know, you got to experience it so that you can now use it as the stepping stone to, well, now write your dissertation and your thesis, and we'll share it with us here, because that's all it was. Like I said in one of the last classes, man, I did all this off of a thought, man. You know, being in prison and locked away from the world for many years and losing sight of the sun for roughly 18 months before I saw it again. The only time I had ever went out in that span was under a moonlight, you know, and things like that. You know, you tend to, well, things change. Your senses, they adapt, you know. And that last few years of, you know, finally getting transitioned into lower custody and, you know, less maximum security prisons, you know, halfway houses and, you know, free world jobs and things like that, just getting acclimated back into life and witnessing these seasons again. It all started with a thought there, and witnessing life change and, you know, spring back from the dead. And I never thought it'd be what it is today, you know. I think that's safe to say. And I can't wait to see what it is 10 years from now. Like I said, a timeless thesis, always changing, always adapting, but still based on the same cyclical manner of nature. And what these elite give us, of course, you know, things like that. Like I always say, we've got the thesis, we've got the code. We just have to wait for the pieces to fall, and those are given to us. You know what I'm saying? Those pieces are given to us. So when you have that, again, it's proven to be something very special. So I love you guys. I'm gonna get ready to end the recording here. Pioneers rise. Build your fortress. Build your legacy. Let's go.